Well, good evening and welcome to the SRT Trackmasters Academy GT3 Championship Round 6, the final round from Racecraft Simulations. My name is Chris Mitchell and I will be bringing you all the action tonight as we have a monster field. 21 drivers lining up to do battle here around the historic Adelaide Street Circuit 1988 as we follow along with Ray Mangano and the Victoria Racing Team Porsche 911 GT3. This is a beautiful car as he makes his way around the circuit at the moment. This is qualifying. Drivers get half an hour to try and put down their best single hot lap. And at the moment, Alexani is the man to beat as Ray makes his way onto Hutt Street and heading up towards the fast left-right section before he turns right onto Jones Straight, making a run towards Brewery Corner. It darts left very slightly at the end here, hard on the brakes at the 100-metre boards before turning right, keeping the speed up, and straight lining it down the long Brabham Straight before we get to the hairpin. Very tight corner at the end of this one. This will be an interesting race tonight with 21 drivers and a couple of relative newcomers joining the field here tonight. It's going to be interesting to see who steps up to the plate and who's got what it takes to get around Adelaide. There's no forgiveness, there's no runoff. It's all walls, and it's all going to be really hard to stay in check for a full 30 minutes of racing tonight. It's sprint race format coming off of the back of a successful Spa 6-hour on Sunday here at Racecraft Simulations, where we raced it out all day long. Ray Mangano coming out with a run, relatively good run with his teammate Trevor Leonard by the end of it after fighting back and forth through the field. He currently now gets dropped to 10th in qualifying order with a 131.5. The fast guys though, Alexani at the moment, sitting on a 128 with the Mercedes AMG GT3. Doesn't that look gorgeous? As he makes his way onto the Jones Straight and the run towards Brewery Corner. Just a little bit of a drop off into the gravel trap on the outside of the right handler there. He's actually going to pull to the side, and the car behind him just trying to turn around and try to they are well and truly stuck and all getting caught up there. Someone in the Porsche coming on down as well, trying to set themselves some hot laps. Jonah Sita now goes to the second spot. Jonah in the BMW making his presence felt there. He was quick in practice. We had a 30-minute open practice session from 6:30. He was very quick, and one to watch tonight, as always, is Jonah coming off the back of the win with his teammate Alex Newton fighting it out in the dying moments of the 6 hours of Spa on Sunday in a battle with Alexani towards the end. Jonah's looking to prove that he's got some pace in GT3 cars in a sprint format tonight. Behind them, Mikkel Peps is currently sitting third on time with a 129.101. Anthony Jewell in fourth with a 129.5. Joe Capone sitting P5 with a 129.5 right now from Cam Edwards in sixth. George Kay in the seventh spot. Brendan Unga in the eighth. Josh Cochran 9. And Clint rounding out the top 10, as that's a big one. That's a massive one coming out of the chicanes. As he resets back to the pit lane, we'll jump on board with someone else. Let's grab Cam Edwards, joining from V-Race in Osborne Park on Scarborough Beach Road, rocking the McLaren 720S and enjoying his time in the Motum Full Motion Simulator. Of course, we've got a pretty solid field of drivers joining tonight, spread across the Racecraft machines. 5 drivers parked up in the static VR rigs, and then 4 drivers in the varying degrees of motion rigs on the triple screen setups here at Racecraft Simulations. Johnny Lee parked up on the SimuCube and D-Box unit. Tommy Hamlin on a D-Box as well. Cade Bell and Nick Cochran lining up in the motion rigs here at Racecraft Simulations. There's a bit of chatter going on in the Discord as well. I would try and bring you that, but unfortunately it's not quite PG. And therefore, I'm not really game to bring it out onto the live stream we're bringing you tonight here from Racecraft Simulations. 16 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. Zani on pole, Cedar second. Mikkel Peps third from Julesy and Capone. They haven't really changed. Joe Capone, a man of many talents, recently joining the Racecraft Simulations fraternity in our league nights and having a good time. Meanwhile, he's printing I'm 3D printing my handles for my DIY steering wheel modifications to my Fanatec unit. Thank you, Joe. Much appreciated. Cam Edwards down in the 6th spot now, 129.6. As Mikkel Peps goes second fastest here, a 128.506. See if we can grab him. We are on board, in fact, as he just clicked that one over the line, making his way into Wakefield Corner. And a really repetitive section of right, left, and right again as you go through Wakefield, East Terrace, Flinders Street, and then turning on to Hutt Street. Through that right-hander onto Hutt Street now, before making a run up towards the Jones Straight here through this fast left-right section. Using a lot of curb, you can get really aggressive and liberal with the curves. Got to watch that run off to the right-hand side of the screen there where the gravel trap sits, as that can really catch you out on your run towards Brewery Corner and upset the car and bring you all your hard work undone. It's a fast one through Brewery Corner. Use a little bit of that exit curbing. It's very aggressive, that curb. And you have to be careful once again not to upset the balance of the car before you set up this very long run down the Brabham Straight into the Deckerville hairpin. Right down low in the RPMs before you start to set out this fast and blind left-hand flying series or set of corners. 3 of them all together before you make the run around to Foster's. With this right-hand kink before the pit lane entrance. And then hard on the brakes into Foster's. Majority of a lap here with Mikkel Peps as he flies down the straight. Strider better at 128.506. He comes across the line and does not improve. He still stays on that time as he just goes through one of our Porsche drivers through the centre chicane and out of Wakefield. Genesita sitting there in 3rd. Cam Edwards now up to 4th in time, so Cam's going faster at the moment. Moving his way forward, Joe Capone's been dropped down to 6th. Josh Cochran, who we would just catch trying to reverse his way back onto the racetrack. That was an odd one. As we find George Kay working his way around in the Richard Mille McLaren 720S. He currently sits 8th on pace at the moment from Brendan Unga in the 9th spot. And Clint is sitting in the pit lane at the moment. Nick Cochran down in the 11th spot here. The man himself, Johnny Lee. Oh, that's a big one there for Brendan and a big spill in the Mercedes. Brendan just bangs the reset button and gets on his way again. He's in the VR rig tonight with the Sim Magic M10 wheelbase and the Huysenfeld sprint pedals. Rocking the VR and these beautifully prepped little VR rigs. They're a fantastic way to go racing. So much immersion you get out of the VR systems. Throw a butt kicker into the mix and that's pretty much all you need to go racing and feel like you're inside the seat of the race car. As we're into the second half of qualifying now, can anybody topple Alexander's time with a 128.234? He currently holds the top spot by 2.7 tenths of a second. As we bring you all the action tonight, this is the final round of the SRT Trackmasters Academy GT3 Championship. We do have GT1s coming at you next Tuesday night here from Racecraft, and it's a pleasure to be back on the mic and bringing the action from Racecraft Simulations. I did miss the last couple of rounds of the GT3 and GT1 rounds. Unfortunately, was sick at home with some vocal cord issues. Kind of means you can't commentate these days. But did have the pleasure of actually being able to race with the boys in those rounds from my rig at home, which was nice to get a feel for the GT cars again and get out there and have some fun. As we follow along with Brendan Ung working his way onto Hutt Street now through the right-hander. And the run up through the chicane onto the Jones Straight. He's trying to better a 130.5. He's down on time at the moment as he heads in through Brewery Corner and onto the Brabham Straight, trying to set up a run. Alexani feeling rather pleased with himself. He's out of the rig and strutting around the centre at Racecraft Simulations, enjoying himself, saying he is absolutely in control and ready to dominate the half-hour race tonight. He's like a robot. I don't know how he drives with full force feedback in these rigs. I drive most of the time with like half force feedback, even on an M10 unit. Alec gets the arm pump out. He'll run force feedback on a Simu Cube with 25 Newton meters. He does not care, and his arms look like he's going to burst a blood vessel halfway through a 30-minute race. I'm sure he'll have fun tonight. As we follow Brendan into Foster's here, seeing if he can better his time. It's a 130.5 he needs to beat 2.3 seconds off the pace of your leaders at the moment. He actually goes quicker. There we go. Brendan Ung into the 7th spot now. A 1:29.7. 1.5 seconds off the pace of your leaders right now. That's a good lap there from Brendan as he works his way around the circuit. Tom Hamlet just jumping up into the 10th spot here. He's on a 1:30.9 as he works his way out of the centre chicane on the way towards Wakefield. He's got his rear mirror being stalked by a Mercedes who just feeds it up the inside and turns him around. Pity if they weren't on a flyer there. Or pity if they were on a flyer. As one of the Porsche guys tries to navigate his way through. Unfortunately there, he's going to have to reset and go and try and start a lap again. Jet here in the McLaren making his way down the straight. He's currently 16th on time. Mr. Cade Bell down in 17th. What is going on for Cade tonight? In the Racecraft motion rig, and he is struggling with the layout of this Adelaide 1988 historic circuit here. Hard on the brakes through Brewery Corner. Nicely done on the exit curbing as well, as he makes the long run down the Brabham Straight. We'll stay on board with Cade, see if he can go faster at any point in this lap. With 9 minutes and 50 seconds left to go, he's 1.5 seconds up. Cade Bell is on a mission. Currently at 1.5 seconds, that would put him at 2.3 off the pace. That would put him inside the top 10. If he can improve in this last sector here, he's going to go well and truly up the order. And he's going to leapfrog Tommy Hamlet right now. His good mate from Racing at Amex as they come down into Foster's. He's left a little bit on the table on the run out of that right-hand kink, but gets it nicely squared up on the exit of Foster's. And a run the line here for Cade. What's it going to be at the line? 1.7 faster. Cade Bell goes 8th fastest with a 1:30.2. A mere 2 seconds off the pace now. Cade Bell finding some speed here. He's going to move right up the order. Just ahead of Josh Cochran. Puts George Kay down to the 10th spot. Tommy Hamlet outside of the top 10. Tommy's even out of the car. He's in the pit lane and enjoying a rest for the moment. This is going to be a very physical race to get around for 30 minutes here. A lot of demand being put on the driver to keep the car straight and in check while trying to go fast and keep it off the walls in this concrete canyon. Cade is up again. Oh! No, he's not up anymore as he stuffs it into the wall on his way onto the Jones Straight, and unfortunately Cade Bell will reset back to the pit lane here. Jump on board with Ray Mangano. We've seen a bit from him before already. Andrew Skinner on screen at the moment, and Steve Myber just working his way through. He's just pulled up to the side of the racetrack here at the East Terrace corner as he resets back to the pit lane. See if we can grab someone who's actually doing something here. Joe Capone on screen here in the Porsche. The flat black Fanatec Porsche. Joe currently running 6th fastest with a 1:29.5. 1.3 seconds off the pace so far as he works his way around the back end of the lap. We didn't get to see his sector interval, so we don't really know whether he is on an absolute flyer or not just yet. See what he can do. Working through the fast left-handers on the run down towards Foster's. He's got a little bit of traffic in the form of Ray Mangano, and it looks like he has slowed it right up and is giving himself a bit of a berth here to try and make a run for another flying lap. He's going to set it up on the main straight, and we'll go again. Joe Capone trying to go faster in the session. You can see he slowed right down at the end of the run there. Let's go to Anthony Julesy Jewell in the Mercedes, rocking his way around out of Wakefield Corner before he turns through East Terrace and onto Flinders Street. Back and forth around Adelaide Street Circuit, making his run towards the Jones Straight here. Going to keep the speed up. Julesy a long way down on time right now, so he is struggling to get around clean at the moment. He's done enough to park himself in 3rd fastest as he used a lot of the runoff on the way onto the Jones Straight there, grabbing a big bite of that gravel trap on the outside of the corner. Julesy 3rd fastest, a 1:28.595, 3.6 tenths of a second off the top time from Alexani right now as he makes his way down the Brabham Straight. We might take the chance to jump on board with Julesy and go inside the Mercedes right now for a lap around the historic 1988 Adelaide Street Circuit. running it down through the final minute of qualifying. Somebody has at long last stepped up to take the top spot while we're sitting back enjoying the iRacing Top 10 for June 2021. Jonas Sita to the top of the pops here, .008 over the field. Sita will take pole as that ends qualifying. 30 minutes of qualifying, run and done here. Alexani will go to second on time unless he can better his time on this final lap, and he is on it too. He is pushing all the way to the finish with another Mercedes stuffed under his rear diffuser. Onto the main straightaway. Can Zani better the time as he runs to the line? Nah, he's done. Zani has backed it out, and that will end it. Mike Peps will go to third here. Anthony Jewell to fourth. We'll check the timings and run through them real quick. Cedar on pole, Zani second, Peps in third, Julesy fourth, Cam Edwards in P5, Joe Capone in P6 on a 129.2. Brendan Ung in P7 here from Tommy Hamlet, jumping up to the 8 spot right at the end there. Clint in the 9 spot, Kate Bell rounding out your top 10 from Josh Cochran in 11, George K in 12, Jet in 13 from Nick Cochran, Ray Mangano, Andy Skinner, Johnny Lee in the 7th spot, Barry in 18, Grant Johnson in 19, and the Docker 1999 rounding out our 20. That is your field set from qualifying. Jonas Sita, the lone BMW in the GT3 field, parks it at the top here around the 1988 historic Adelaide Street Circuit. So we'll let qualifying wrap up. We'll bring you all the action from the race in just a moment as we let the field settle down. We'll get everyone out, have a drink, and get ready for half an hour for the SRT Trackmasters Academy GT3 Championship Final here at Racecraft Simulations. Well, after a quick turnaround, after qualifying wraps up and the general speeches given to drivers to take it easy in the opening lap and give everyone some room, we are set, racked and stacked. 21 drivers lining up on the starting grid. We're going to start things off with Jonas Sita, the man to watch on the pole spot here, with Alexani, Mikkel Peps, Anthony Jewell, Cameron Edwards, Joe Capone, Brendan Ung, Tommy Hamlet, Clint Harvey, and Cade Bell, your top 10 starters here from Cochrane. George Kay, Jet, Cochrane, Ray Mangano, Skinner, Lee, Barry, Grant Johnson, and Docker 1999, your 20 drivers lining up here. This is going to be a fantastic race. Just waiting on everyone else to ready up and load into the starting grid so they don't miss the start here. As we get ready, just waiting things out. Give us a shout out if you're watching live online. Jump into the chat, say hello. I'll be commenting as John and replying to all your comments as we go racing here. The grid is set. Watch for the lights to come on and send us racing into centre chicane. All right, we are set to go. And we are away here on the Adelaide Street Circuit, 1988. They fan out immediately from the starting grid. Zani gets away from the starting boxes early. He's going to fire into the chicane as your race leader. Sita into that second spot. Jules into third. There's a bit of crashing going on behind, but we're mostly through here. Into Wakefield Corner for the first time. Sita trying to put the pressure on the back of Zani. Jules is right there. It's a barrel of Mercedes. 1, 3, and 4 on the road at the moment as they flick through the first sections of the left-right complex. Dashing between the concrete bollards. Sita leading the way. Sita in second, sorry. Zani leading the way. Into the chicane, though. Julesie's all over him at the moment. As they head up towards the right-hander onto Jones Straight. Julesie to the inside. Got to be careful on that exit not to run into each other and get caught up on the gravel. Sita holds onto that second spot as we follow along. Julesie putting the pressure on. Under brakes into Brewery Corner. Firing it out, getting into the throttle early here. Zani trying to break away from the field and do a runner in classic Alexani style. But it's Jonas Sita trying to hold off that second spot. Julie is weaving left and right, trying to shake and rattle Jonah at the moment. Under brakes here into Foster's corner. Into each other. And Sita goes around, does he? Someone else went around behind, and that was Julesy caught up because it's Brendan Ung now into the third spot. Julesy down the order in the 8th spot on this opening lap. Unfortunately, he fires it into the wall. Out of anger, trying to drive his way back through, and that is going to be painful as Joe Capone in the Porsche now, up to the 4th spot from Mike Peps behind him in P5. At the end of lap 1, Alexani leads away. Jonas Sita surviving barely on this opening lap melee attack into second here. Brendan Ung into third. He's had a good run at the moment, up into that 3rd spot. Brendan in the matching livery of Alexani here, that Mercedes AMG, looking absolutely beautiful. One of the best sounding GT cars on the planet, and one of the coolest looking as well. Love the old clown shoe shaped cars. Remember the old BMW Z4? A fantastic looking car. Wish I had enough money and I was old enough to have one in the day. It would have been a fantastic car to get around the streets and pull the ladies on. As Joe Capone into that 4th spot. Mike Peps in P5 here. Joe running very wide there into the gravel as they rocket onto the Brabham Straight. Look at the gap that Sita and Zani have built already. We'll jump on board with Alexani at the moment and grab him as Sita weaving down the Brabham Straight here, trying to just show up in the mirrors of Zani and rattle him a little bit as they come out of Foster's hairpin. Zani, cool, calm and collected, trying to break away from the field. He's taking Jonah with him at the moment. Half a second is the gap. They've already opened up 3.4 over Joe Capone, sitting in that 3rd spot as Brendan Ung has gone back to P4 here. So Brendan's had an issue where he's just let Joe go on through in the second half of this lap as they come round onto the main straight once again. Behind them sits Mikkel Peps in P5. Bell there in the 6th spot, right behind in this bright yellow Porsche. He's having a good run at the moment, tucking in behind with this battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th, with himself tacking on his P6. Julesy just reappearing in the back of frame there in that blue AMG. Down there in P7 from Clint Harvey in the 8th spot. John Lee P9. Johnny Lee, hang on a second. Johnny Lee P9. He's having a great old run here in the Blow Racing Porsche entry. Johnny into the 9th spot. Tommy Hamlet P10. Jet in the McLaren into the 11. Johnny feeds it into the wall. Commentator's curse gets him. And he's going to lose a spot here to Tom Hamlet. And he's going to go banging door handles with Jet. As they come into the chicane, he lets them both go through. A smart piece of driving there from Johnny. Cam Edwards, he's had a shocker as well. Cam, actually, I'm not able to select him on screen, so he is having a lot of trouble on track. He's down in the 13th spot after qualifying higher up the order. We grab Joe Nasita in P2. He's staying in touch with Alec at the moment. You can see that's the gap forward to Alexani in the Mercedes. Into Foster's. Working on it here. It's 0.4 of a second at the start-finish line on the brakes into centre chicane. Using a lot of curb there is Jonah. He's got to be careful not to record too many off tracks because that will give him a penalty. If he records 10 off tracks in the end, he feeds it into the rear bumper of Zani, who checks him up on the brakes in Wakefield Corner. Now onto East Terrace. And wrapping around onto Hutt Street now. We make a run to the chicane. He's given away a couple of tenths of a second to the Mercedes. Zani has spun it! Your race leader, Alex Zani, has looped it at the chicane on the run towards Jones Street and given the lead to Joe Nasita. Joe Capone in the Porsche now. He goes through to second. And the gap he has back to Mike Peps in the McLaren is significant as well. Capone having a great run here into that 2 spot as he makes the run down the Brabham Straight. Peps behind him, Brendan Ung in the 4th spot. Bell back there in P5 now. Julesy 6, Zani all the way down to 7. Joining his mate Julesy. Both of them with a mistake and a problem here in the Mercedes. Going to have to put some work in to try and claw this gap back as we make our way through the race. A great run so far. Joe Capone to be grinning and rubbing his hands together if he could let go of the wheel for a second. Running a great race number 2. Love the 82. A classic race number from years gone by and a childhood well cherished for one young commentator. Looking at the gap behind him here, there is Mikkel Peps and Brendan Ung behind in 3rd and 4th. Bell falling off the back of that battle now. We grab a hold of Cade Bell as he is under a lot of pressure from Julesy as they come into the centre chicane. And Bell will be hard up on the wheel trying to hang on to this spot and defend from a hard charging Anthony Jewell to hang on to that 5th spot as they come through Wakefield Corner onto East Terrace. Banging left onto Flinders. And it's literally a quick run on the throttle and bang a right as Julesy beats it to the inside. As we've got a stricken Mercedes just jumping out of the way as they come through the chicane. Oh, Bell all out of shape and up into the wall. And he is going to lose that, and he's not too happy with Anthony Jewell as a result of that. Julesy has actually pulled aside and let him go through, but the damage was already done. Bell down into the 7th spot now, and he's going to stack up behind Alexani. The man who's picked up the most out of this, Clint Harvey, in the red Mercedes, the 77th machine, moving up into P5. And Mikkel Peps now with a handy advantage over Brendan Ung further behind. Peps 5.1 seconds off the race lead and holding a solid 7.3 second advantage over Ung in P4. So a great run here for Mikkel Peps, just biding his time, being very patient around the tough and unforgiving street circuit. You can see just ahead of him is Joe Capone. There's only 1.5 seconds separating them for 2nd and 3rd at the moment. Meanwhile, out front, Joe Nasita in the BMW. The Schneider Sports entry, he's out by 4.4 seconds over the field. He managed to snatch pole by just 8 thousandths of a second right in the final few moments of the 30-minute qualifying session here at Racecraft Simulations. But Sita flexing the muscle in race conditions, now working on that gap and trying to get that out even further. It's out to 4.8 seconds as he makes his way around. Grab a track map so we can see where everyone is. Onto Brewery Corner now on the brakes and just checking up the speed a little bit. using all of that rumble strip on the exit before he makes a run down Brabham Straight. Out to almost 5 seconds here. Joe Capone back in second, Peps in third. Zani now 10 seconds off the back of Peps in the third spot. Bell is back to P5 as Harvey has had a problem here. He's dropped off to P7. I missed what happened there. Julesy through to the 6th spot. Tommy Hamlet further behind. He's another 4 seconds adrift, 5 seconds adrift. You can see him coming onto the Brabham Straight and looking forward at the back of Clint Harvey. Jet behind him at the moment in the 9th spot. And the McLaren just flashing across your frame now. Here's in the McLaren with Brendan Ung rounding out your top 10. Cameron Edwards up to P11 here from John Lee in P12. Nick Cochran, Andrew Skinner, Ray Mangano, Josh Cochran, George Kay, Grant Johnson, Docker 99, and Barry rounding out your 20. Around 20 minutes and 45 left to go here in the SRT Trackmasters Academy GT3 Series Grand Final here at Racecraft Simulations. Round 6 of 6. Wrapping up in the iconic and historic Adelaide Street Circuit. We're going to grab this tasty little battle heating up here. Julesy at the back of this pack, pushing along with Clint Harvey right behind him. So Jules is actually in the middle of this pack. Clint Harvey behind him. And Cade Bell right in front. We're going to jump on board for a lap. Not that one. That's the one we want. On board for a lap around Adelaide as Anthony Jewell starts to pour the pressure onto the back of Cade Bell once again. So around about a lap later, and Julesy has managed to move himself up into the 5 spot now after a great pass up the inside of Cade Bell a little while ago. He's managed to drop off Bell by a few seconds already. Bell behind here, showing up in that orange Porsche, trying to hold off a hard charging Clint Harvey as they come down the main straight. Julesy rocketing through the centre chicane and onto Wakefield Road. The man dropped off in the middle of nowhere right now, Alex Zani. Zani sitting in that 4th spot in a bit of a no man's land situation after that spin while hanging on to the race lead in the early stages. He's 16.7 seconds off the race lead of Jonah Sita, who has a handy 8-second advantage of his own. Zani's going to try and fight his way through the field at the moment. P4 on the road, holding 5 seconds over Julesy, another 5 seconds back to Cade Bell, and half a second back to Clint Harvey in P7. But at the moment, it's still Jonah Sita out front. Who can stop this kid at the moment? Well, if he's true to form, Jonah's probably the only man who can stop himself. And of course making reference to the man who likes to have a bit of a solo spin every now and then, not wanting to put the commentator's curse on the youngster, but we'll see what he can do as we approach the middle point of the race. He's coming up onto the back of some lap traffic very soon here. Through centre chicane, a big dip of a tyre into the gravel there. You want to be very careful through there. 8.5 seconds over Joe Capone now, who has 1 second over Mike Peps. Starting to put some pressure on. This is going to get tasty here as we're coming up on some lap traffic. There's one of the Porsches flashing across screen as Jonah coming up onto the back of some lap traffic. We're going to grab this battle. And so, Jonah has a problem. Jonah Sita has a massive problem, and I think he's got a VR headset failure, and he has to get back into it. Oh, shocking for Jonah Sita. And he's got it beached on the curbing as well. He will rejoin back in the third spot, who's now going to lose that to Zani. And that puts Joe Capone into the race lead. He'll be wondering what the hell just happened. As I heard the outcry across the room here in Racecraft Simulations. Not really rated to be repeated to a live audience, but Jonah expressing his frustration. As I do believe he had some sort of VR unit failure. He's sitting on the RK6 machine here at Racecraft Simulations, and sometimes these old, not old, but the Oculus headsets do sometimes get a little bit caught up and lose their play area, and that can spell disaster if you're trying to point the car in the right direction at any point in time. Jonah quickly grabbing a controller and resetting himself. He's back on the road and in P4, but it's this man, Joe Capone, leading the way here from Mikkel Peps into that second spot as they come down into the centre chicane here. 14 minutes and 45 left to go in the race. Alexani back there in the third spot. Sita P4, Julesy P5 from Harvey, Bell, Edwards, Jet and Skinner, your top 10. But it's Joe Capone, only recently joining the Racecraft League Night Series and coming racing with us on a regular basis from his rig at home. A triple screen Thrustmaster equipped rig with a whole bunch of homemade and custom 3D printed components hanging off his rig. He is leading the way, coming up onto some lap traffic here. Working his way behind cars that are getting blue flags and doing the right thing, jumping out of the way here as Capone rockets down the Brabham straight. Into the De Quertville straight. Into the De Quertville hairpin here. Mike Peps trying to find his way through as well. Not wanting to instigate any sort of McLaren on McLaren violence, but he is now getting held up by some lap traffic. Not much a lapping cars can do though. They've got to find a safe space to try and let the leaders go through. And this will be a gift for Capone at the moment. He's going to be able to open up that gap just a little bit as they come around onto the main straight once again. And they're doing a great job of jumping on out of the way. So Peps 1.8 seconds off the race lead here. Jonah Sita getting a good birthday gift here, hanging on to third. But he's got Zani and Julesy stacking up right behind, fourth and fifth now, as they come out of the centre chicane. Sita wanting to climb his way back into that fight. Kate Bell back there in P6 from Edwards 7 over Jet, Harvey and Skinner, your top 10. We're going to keep an eye on this battle because I think this is going to start to get real tasty with these three all getting together. Arguably three of the quickest guys on the track on a regular basis here in Racecraft League Nights and through the SRT Trackmasters Academy Championship Series, depending on, or not really depending, but in all the different categories we run. Coming up on the back of some lap traffic. Oh, Alexani from behind smashes it into the wall. And Zani somehow manages to keep control. It's a good thing we're not running damage tonight. Now, that was a point of contention, but it's fairly obvious by this point we did switch damage off, being a street circuit with 21 cars all lining up. It makes life very, very hard. And we wanted everyone to have a good chance of finishing the race and having a good fun night for our League Night competitors. So without any damage, the consequences aren't too bad, and it's not terminal if you do smack a wall. As a McLaren facing the inside wall on the pit straight there with all the leaders going by. He resets to the outside of the track and tries to rejoin the race. Jonah Sita in the third spot. Now has a few more seconds advantage over Alexani. Asita trying to fight his way around one of the lapping Porsches here and gets through. At the moment, Joe Capone and Mike Pep still separated by a second. 1.7 seconds as they get along. Ray Mangano there caught up at the chicane, and he does the right thing driving it off the racing surface and will rejoin the race. Unfortunate there for Ray. Not having the night that he wants to have. He's very quick in a Formula car though. Loves a bit of aerodynamic assistance from the high downforce racing that you get from our Formula 1 series. We've had some great battles with Ray out front of that series. Loves the P4 prototype cars as well. And now Ray all the way down in 18th behind Johnny Lee in the Blow Racing Porsche entry. As checking on the timings here. With 10 minutes 35 left to go, Capone has actually managed to open up a gap over this man. I think Mike Peps has had a problem. And the gap goes out to 3.2 seconds. Mike back there in the second spot, struggling along a little bit. You can see Capone flashing across the screen. And now Jonah is actually catching him. Zani flashing in the screen behind. Your top four very close together here as Peps sends it over the center chicane curbing. And they're all coming up onto this big gaggle of lapped cars. Some doing a better job than others of jumping out of the way, but everyone doing their best. And that's all that matters here at Racecraft Simulations, that everyone gives it a good go as another one of the yellow Porsches jumps out of the way here. And they fight their way through the lapped cars. Jonah Sita having his own issues trying to get through as well after dropping off Zani and Jewel by about 5 seconds now. Back to them. We knew this was going to happen at some point during the race, that everyone catches up to lap traffic. It's a relatively short lap here with only 1:30 and a tight racetrack with not many opportunities to jump out of the way. Everyone having to be very, very careful to let the leaders go through so everyone can have their own race here. But it's Mike Peps still trying to close down that 2.5 second advantage that Joe Capone has. It's down to 2.2 seconds. As they work on it. Capone coming out of Foster's corner and onto the main straight. 3 seconds a gap showing up as he comes down the straight here. It's varying rapidly up and down here as they look at them all filtering through onto the main straight at the moment. We'll go back and grab Jonah Sita behind. And the cars lining up here. Alexani closing up onto the back of this group at the moment with Anthony Jewell a long way back. 16 seconds adrift now in P5. He's actually going to start coming under pressure very soon from Cameron Edwards if he's not careful here, trying to take the 5th spot off him. Cam 30.5 seconds off the race lead here. Kate Bell back there in the 7th spot, actually falling down to P8 now as he has trouble around the track. The two Mercedes getting into each other and one of them facing the wrong direction. And that Mercedes was not Julesy, so I think that was Brendan Ung getting caught up there, and yes it was, unfortunately, as it was Alexani trying to put a lap on him and fight his way forward. He's got a big margin to make up now as this is getting close here. Jonah right up onto the back of Mike Peps now. We're going to keep an eye on this one because it's a tasty little battle for second. Sita to the inside at the end of the Brabham straight. Peps has to check it up on the exit to not run into the back of him, and they're going to go side by side through the left-handers as well. Sita fighting his way back through. Can he get back to the race lead after being the fastest qualifier by 8 thousandths of a second, leading the way in the early stages and defending all challenges, to be brought undone with a VR headset issue? He's 3.2 seconds off the back of Joe Capone, who's driving a perfect race, mind you, out front by himself in the Fanatec Porsche. He has not set a foot wrong, has Joe Capone. Doing a great job of leading this one out. But can anyone stop the charge of the young Jonah Sita? 2.5 seconds the gap. You can see Jonah and Mike Peps flashing across the screen as he gets a little bit wild coming out of the right-hander at Wakefield. He wants to be careful. Sorry, at Flinders Street onto Hutt then. He's got to be careful not to give it all away. in a spin at this point in the race, with only 6 minutes and 40 left to go, will spell disaster for his run back to the pointy end of the field. We'll take the opportunity with 6.5 minutes left to go to give you a full rundown of your running order at the moment. Of course, it's Joe Capone out front. Jonas Sita second, 2.2 seconds the margin. Jonah on screen right now. Right behind him, Mike Peps trying to chase him down in the third and stay with him here. Alexani further behind. He's 11.6 seconds off the race lead. Currently holding P4 after he's had a spin and a couple of issues. Cameron Edwards, after getting caught up in the early stages of the race, he's fighting his way back forward into P5, but 20 seconds off the back of Alexani in that fourth spot. Anthony Jewell having his own issues this race, getting caught up with Cade Bell and the likes, and he is down in P6, another 8 seconds off the back of Cameron Edwards. Then we go to Clint Harvey, circulating on his own at the moment. He's 8 seconds off the back of Julesy, with Harvey sitting in P7. Cade Bell back there in the 8th spot. He's another 8 seconds drift with Josh Cochran. 10 seconds further back in P9. And Tommy Hamlet, 4 seconds off the back of Cochran, rounding out your top 10. Then Jet coming through in the McLaren here. Andrew Skinner behind him, coming up towards the chicane on the run towards the Jones Straight. Nick Cochran further behind in the McLaren, just behind. Actually, I can't grab Nick Cochran, so we'll stand corrected on that one. Barry in the yellow Porsche with the Dazzle entry, making his way through the left-right section with Ray Mangano after having that spin earlier on screen in the Vittorio Racing Team Porsche. Brendan Ung having his fair share of issues in this Mercedes tonight. He sits P16 with John Lee in the Blow Racing Porsche P17. Grant Johnson in the green Mercedes P18 tonight from George Kelly in 19, and Docker 99 rounding out your 20. So we'll check out back to the race lead now as Jonas Sita has given up a bit of time and had some troubles in this lap. He has given it away to Joe Capone here. 5.6 seconds the gap now with 4 minutes and 40 left to go. Peps has had a spin. Just saw that in the side of the screen, and Peps, what an unfortunate place to park it. He gets a lucky break in the traffic. But Peps has now given it up and he's gone back to the 4th spot. Alexani will go through to 3rd. He's 11.5 seconds off the lead though. It's Capone from Sita from Zani, with Mike Peps having a spin. He's finding himself some 16 seconds away from being under any sort of pressure from Cam Edwards, but unfortunately out of contention in 2nd now. And out of contention for that 3rd spot, I should say. Peps down to P4, has some work to do to catch the back of Alexani, who had the race lead fleetingly in this race. With less than 4 minutes left to go, the gap sits at 3.8 seconds for Joe Capone out front. We'll stay on board with Joe and see if we can jump inside the Fanatec Porsche for the final couple of moments of this one around the 1988 Adelaide Historic Street Circuit, and just keeping a keen eye on the delta back to Jonas Sita here. There's no possible way you could make up 3 seconds in 3.5 minutes, but I've seen stranger things here at Racecraft Simulations. As Capone rockets down the Brabham Straight, clicking down through the gears into the Duquette-Phil hairpin. And through the left-handers, the delta sits at 3.7 seconds. Getting a little bit wide there on the curving. That's going to give a little bit of time away to Jonas Sita in 2nd. 3 minutes to go as Capone rounds Foster's corner and making his way onto the main straightaway. He's going to get this lap and one more on the run towards the centre chicane, nice and conservatively, making sure he keeps all 4 tyres inside the boundary lines and stopping himself from getting an off track. But Sita is absolutely sending it through there. The gap getting shortened down to 2.3 seconds now, even 2 seconds as Capone turns onto Flinders Street before switching back onto Hutt Street here. This is where the Porsche is pretty decent around the track. The BMW giving away some time on that long Brabham Straight that they're coming up to in just a moment. Through the right-hander onto the Jones Straight here before the short run through the gears into Brewery Corner. It's 2 seconds the gap. Grab Jonas Sita and follow him. You can see Joe Capone there as a spun McLaren, just giving Jonah a bit of a fright, I'm sure. And Sita focusing all of his energy into closing up on at the back of this Porsche. 1 minute and 50 to go. Capone on the brakes into the hairpin. this is where the BMW can make up some time through the tighter sections of the racetrack. It's kind of either side of that long straight where Steter is very quick at the moment, working his way down towards Foster's. It was 3 seconds a minute and a half ago. It's now 1.5. Steter is within a chance of maybe being able to claw this one back. It's one thing to catch. It's another to pass, though. 1 minute and 20 as Steter hits the line. This will be their final lap of the race into the centre chicane for the final time here. Steter sends it across the curving and closes it up to 0.7 of a second. It's a last lap dash to the line, and Steter pouring the pressure onto the back of Joe Capone, runs it wide at the right-hander onto East Terrace. He stays in touch as they turn onto Flinders Street, and pouring on the pressure in the battle for the race lead on this final lap of the half-an-hour race in the Adelaide Street Circuit. The run up Hutt Street on towards the Jones Straight here. Steter keeping it in control. He's going to get the toe as they go down to Brabham Straight. Being careful not to grab too much of that exit run gravel. Pulls out to flash across the mirrors of Capone and give him a bit of a fright. He's run wide on the way onto the Brabham Straight. Capone has given him a little bit of a berth here. Can Steter get the toe down this long Brabham Straight? He looks towards the braking zone, eyeing off where he needs to go, and he's going to go for a late lunge. Is it enough to get up the inside? Capone losing out on the race lead. Jonas Steter takes the lead with 15 seconds to go. Unbelievable. Steter with the lead around the final few corners. The run down towards Foster's. Nothing that Capone could have done to slow down the charge of this man. When he's on, there is nobody going to stand in his way. Through Foster's for the final time. One final squeeze of the skinny pedal, and Jonas Steter runs it to the line to win the final of GT3 on the streets of Adelaide. Joe Capone in second in a valiant, clean and calculated drive. Only good enough for second tonight here. Alexani will run it around for third. We'll click him through. Zani coming across the line in third. Mike Pepsi in fourth. Cameron Edwards making his way around the final few corners to wrap up P5. Edwards coming across the line to wrap up your top 5 here. Clint Harvey making his way around the final few corners. And in his debut in the SRT Trackmasters Academy, Harvey puts in a solid effort tonight, keeping his nose relatively clean to come home P6 here in the GT3s on the streets of Adelaide. Anthony Julesy Jewell making his way around the final corner now, and he will make it around to go P7 on the road here. Tommy Hamlet, another 23 seconds further behind, will work his way around, holding off Josh Cochran all the way around. This is a great little scrap here for 8th and 9th on the road. Tommy Hamlet working his way around as Cochran tries to pour the pressure on. He's going to have a little peek to the inside into Foster's. Oh, and he's going to feed one to Tommy Hamlet, try and turn him on the final corner, but it's not going to be enough. Hamlet grabs the 8th spot. Cochran chases him across the line to go P9, and they feed one to each other across the finish line as well. Jet comes across and around the final corner. He's going to drop down the order as they all start to click out of the session a little early. And that is everyone done. Unbelievable. Jonas Steter claiming the win here at Racecraft Simulations for the SRT Trackmasters Academy GT3 final on the streets of Adelaide on the final lap over Joe Capone. That is a wrap for tonight's league racing from Racecraft Simulations. A fantastic night of racing. Thank you for joining us live on YouTube. Hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you get in touch if you want to get onto any of the Racecraft products. Get yourself an RKS rig or come racing in centre in our fantastic esports centre, Grogan Road, just near Perth International Airport. Head to Racecraft Simulations on Facebook or www.racecraft.net. That's enough from me tonight. Thank you for joining us. Good night.